boys and girls. My name is Miss Rachel. I am a first grade educator at Grandwood Elementary School, and today I'm going to read to you a fabulous book that I know you're going to love. The title of this book is Grace Goes to Washington. The author of this book is Kelly Dupicino, and it is illustrated by Leon Pham. So the author is the person that writes the story. The illustrator is the person that draws the pictures. Look at these pictures. Really nice, huh? So Grace Goes to Washington. Do you have any idea what this book is going to be about? Who lives in Washington? Now, there are two Washingtons. I'm referring to Washington, D.C. You're correct. The President of the United States as well as the Vice President of the United States. And this happens to be Grace. Now, I know a lot of you may have read a book called Grace for President. It precedes this book. She ran for class president and she won. Now it says she's going to Washington. So, recently we had a presidential election. President Joe Biden is now our new president and Senator Kamala Harris is our new vice president. See my cup? Senator Kamala Harris is on here, but she's now Vice President Kamala Harris. She's also my sorority sister. Okay. Grace Goes to Washington. Now, I want you to listen for some words that are going to be in this story. One word is gavel. Has anyone ever heard of the term gavel? This is a gavel. A gavel is a small wooden tool that is hit on a hard surface by a judge or someone who is in charge to get the crowd's attention. So this is a gavel. Another word I want you to listen for is lobbied. These two people are shaking hands. They're trying to persuade each other to do something. Lobbied. Do you know what this is? This is actually a monument. Can you say that? Monument. This is a monument of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that is actually in Washington, D.C. A monument is a statue or building that is used to remember someone or a special event. So this happens to be Dr. Martin Luther King's monument in Washington, D.C. So don't forget that word, monument. Next we have council. Here I have a picture of the City Council of Memphis, Tennessee. A council is a group of people chosen to make something happen. So these people are elected by the parishioners in this area, the elected officials in this area to do something special for who? Our city of Memphis. So don't forget that word, council. The last word I want you to think about is diagram. This is a diagram of a plant. A diagram is just a simple drawing that shows you how something looks or how something works. This actually shows you the different parts of a plant. The flower, the stem, the leaf, the roots. So don't forget that word diagram. So boys and girls, the words I want you to listen for as I read are diagram, council, monument, lobbied, and gavel. When you hear Ms. Rachel read those words, I just want you to simply clap. All right? So let's get started. Grace Goes to Washington. One Friday afternoon in April, Mrs. Barrington shared a large diagram. Did you catch it? I know I heard you clap. Of the three branches of the U.S. government. But Grace Campbell could not stop daydreaming about the upcoming field trip to Washington, D.C. Grace, do you know who's in charge here? Mrs. Barrington asked. Who's in charge here? Grace repeated. Principal Perez. A few of her classmates giggled. Well, said Mrs. Barrington, I suppose you could say Principal Perez is like the executive branch here at Wilson Elementary because she's the head of our school. But right now, we're talking about the U.S. government. Sorry, Grace answered. The president. He or she leads the executive branch. That's correct, Mrs. Barrington said. The president. The last bell of the day rang. We'll discuss this more next week, she announced. Student council. Did you catch it? That's right, council. Student council members Grace and Sam, don't forget you have a meeting after school. So remember I told you earlier Grace ran for president before. So she's the president of the student council. Don't forget, council. They are elected to get something done. At the meeting, classroom representatives were discussing their ideas on how to spend the money raised from their holiday bake sale. Thomas and his committee petitioned for new sports equipment. Another group of students said, a healthy mind is a healthy body. Grace and her committee thought new books for the library was the way to go. Books are the mirror to the soul. Principal Perez even offered her own suggestions. The music room sure could use some new instruments. Mr. Marshall, the media center teacher, listened carefully to all the arguments and took notes. All right, boys and girls, so far, who is in charge at your school? Who is the leader at your school? That's right, the principal is the leader of the school. Now, what do you think they should use the money for the bake sale? What would you use the money for the bake sale? Would you buy new instruments? Would you buy new PE equipment? Would you buy new food in the cafeteria? A snack machine or a vending machine? What would you do with that bake sale money? Now, this is really important. Do you think it is important for people to work together to achieve a goal? Do you think it's important for the student council to work together? I agree. I do too. Let's keep reading. There are all good ideas, Grace later admitted to Sam. There's no way we'll agree before the vote next week. You know what I was thinking during the meeting? Sam asked. No, what? If Principal Perez is like the executive branch, I think the student council is kind of like the legislative branch because we're the elected leaders from each class and we help make decisions for our school. Grace considered Sam's comparison. Yeah, who knew so many people had a say in how to spend cookie money? She started to grumble. So all of these members of the student council are going to have to decide how to spend their holiday bake sale money. The following day, Grace could hardly contain her excitement. It was finally field trip day. As the bus drove down Pennsylvania Avenue, cherry blossoms dotted the trees like pink pom-poms. Grace and her classmates visited the Lincoln Memorial. Do you think you know who the Lincoln Memorial is for? That's right, Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. The U.S. Capitol, where the legislative branch meets. And the Supreme Court building. That's where you'll find the judicial branch and the Supreme Court judges, Sam pointed out. They decide if our rules and laws are fair. Kind of like Mr. Marshall does at our student council meetings, Grace added. During a tour of the White House, home of the executive branch, Grace's dreams of becoming president feel more real. Does anyone know what this picture represents? This is actually the Oval Office. This is where the president meets and makes a lot of his decisions. Their final stop of the day was the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. Grace studied the words engraved on the monument. Did you catch that? All right, I heard you clap. And she thought about their meeting. Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a greater person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in. So this is a picture I just showed you to represent the monument. This is the Dr. Martin Luther King's monument in Washington, D.C. At recess the next day, arguments about what to purchase for the school grew more heated. "Look at this crummy basketball," Clara complained. "It's practically worthless." "At least you have a ball," Fletcher groaned. "There are 2 new books in the Ninja Wizard series, but our library doesn't have either one." Hannah lobbied. Did you catch that? Lobbied the loudest for new instruments. "Well, I for one am sick and tired of playing the recorder in music class. Principal Perez is right." Grace glanced at Thomas, who was unusually quiet. She looked past him to see who he was staring at. Grace didn't recognize the boy sitting all alone. He must be new, she thought. He looked kind of sad. Just then, the bell rang and the students scattered. I hope so far you have enjoyed the first half of Grace Goes to Washington. I can't wait to see you tomorrow to keep on reading. See you later.